Hi everyone, welcome to FineThings vlog. I'm your host, Angie Yazelitis, and I have to tell you that this is my first time being live with our vlog, so if you're watching, you might get to see some fun today because I'm actually a little nervous about it. So I'm so glad you're joining us. For those of you who maybe haven't tuned in to FineThings in the past, what our vlog is all about are things that enrich our lives. So we're really all about going out there and finding services, businesses, people, and places that I feel like truly enrich your life, and having them on as guests or just talking about them. So, of course, as always, I'm super excited when I get to introduce my followers to somebody new that has truly enriched my life. And that's what's going to go on here today. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce Beth Caldwell. She's been inspiring women for more than 20 years. She's the founder of Leadership Academy for Women, the host of the web TV channel called Smart Leadership, and the author of 7 popular books on business and inspiration. I'm actually reading one of them. I shared it yesterday, From Frantic to Focused, and it's actually really, really good, and I'm excited to ask a few questions about it. Beth's passion really is to help women enjoy their life and business, and she reminds them that yes, you can do it all, but guess what? You can't do it all at the same time. So I think as women, we all need to hear that, but I know a lot of our followers actually are men, and I think it's true for men too. You can do it all, but you can't do it all at the same time. So Beth, welcome.
Thank you.
It's so exciting to have you here.
Good to see you.
And Beth's all the way from Pittsburgh, by the way.
We had a good day for a drive. Very good day for a drive. Hi,
so
everybody.
It's your first time to Altoona?
My first time to Altoona, other than driving through.
Really? Okay, so
glad to be here.
You liked it.
And it's a great day to be driving today. October's my favorite month, of course.
Oh my gosh, the
Yes.
fall foliage. It's absolutely gorgeous out. So, and I was telling everybody, you've watched us before. We are big fans of BG Marauders because I obviously have a son that plays. And Beth's wearing purple for the game tonight. I'm not, so I'm not
spirit.
I'm not the BG mom, but you're representing for me.
Okay.
So thank you.
Go BG. Is that what it is? Okay.
Yes, it is. So Beth, I kind of want to start. I shared a little bit of an intro, and your bio is obviously really impressive. But for me, it's really about the story behind the person, and I would love for you to share, some twists and turns, or just something important about you that got you to where you're at that we're not going to necessarily get just reading your bio.
Oh, well, thank you. So it was a little surprising to hear you say she's been helping women for over 20 years. I'm like, oh, why that old? No, but it's true.
I always say that.
I started as a Girl Scout.
I started at 6.
I think here, I didn't know you were going to ask that question, but a story is popping into my mind, so I'll tell you what it is, because I think it's important. We don't always get to share these things in a workshop necessarily, these stories, these backstories, but
exactly.
When I was in high school, I was in junior achievement, and I had a wonderful mentor through junior achievement who saw something in me, and she mentored me, and she took me to a public speaking competition.
Wow.
And I went to the semifinalists, and then I went to the finalists. And I was 16 years old. I was in 10th grade going into 11th. And the person who I was competing against was a girl 1 year older than me, a high school girl 1 year older than me. And I knew her. She was in my Girl Scout troop. I really was a Girl Scout.
I was too, by the way.
And what happened is that I was really good at this speaking on stage. I had no fear. I didn't have to prepare. And
Wow.
and what happened was me and her from the same high school wound up in a tiebreaker. And the winner got to go to Harrisburg. Now, she was 18, and she had been coming since 7th grade. This was my first time there. I didn't even know about it.
Yeah.
And what happened was we did really well in our prepared speech, and she was very upset because this was her year to win.
Oh. And there was competition she hadn't expected.
And it was from kind of a younger sister type of thing, like a little cousin, somebody that she knew, and how could you come in and do this? I wasn't planning for this. So just before I went up to do my tiebreaker, she leaned over and whispered in my ear, and she said, everybody's going to find out who you really are and what kind of family you come from.
Oh, my.
And I thought, what kind of family do I come from? What are you talking about? I didn't have any idea. And she planted this insecurity on me. And I remember standing up on the stage and looking at my mentor, who looked at me like, what happened? I got up and I was practically in tears, and I couldn't speak, and I lost, and I just gave up. Wow. Do you know I never spoke publicly again for about 20 years? And
20 years.
And I didn't really remember that was the moment that I said, that's not really for me. But it wasn't until years later when I started my group, Pittsburgh Professional Women, and I was speaking in a small workshop setting, and somebody said to me, why don't you go on stage? Why don't you go on stage? And I thought, I don't know why I don't go on stage, right? And so then through some meditation and exploring, I remembered that and had to heal that. Yeah. And as soon as I let go of that pain, the business took off.
That's an incredible story. I'm just so grateful that you shared it, because I think, we have a lot of followers that are business people, men and women, and, our fears and insecurities that are planted as children really do hold us back. And you think, oh my goodness, why?
They're deep in our memory. They're deeply recorded, and most of our habits, most of our bad habits and good ones come from deeply planted in our childhood.
See, I'm so excited that she shared that, because I watched her in a workshop, and I actually love to public speak and do things like that, but I do have fear. I do struggle with fear. I get nervousness and things that happen to me unexpectedly. Mm-hmm. So I'll be really great at one event, the next event I won't be so great. And so I thought, oh wow, how amazing this woman is. And to share that you overcame that is huge. It makes it even huge. More important to me.
And it was, I want to say it was almost embarrassing and disappointing that I let something like that go. Of course, when you're 36 years old, you can look back and see why somebody would say that. You've learned so much in the 20 years.
Just trying to break the competition.
Exactly. You learn just because, and the reason that was so profoundly difficult for me was because that's something I would never do.
Yeah.
I would never do that to someone.
Right.
And it surprised me. Like anything that hurts us deeply, it's usually the surprise. Mm-hmm. It was the surprise of it. And I was so embarrassed and disappointed that I had let down my mentor who had volunteered her time with me. Yeah. And I never told her what happened. So those of you who are moms and dads of teenagers, yeah, they don't tell you. They don't tell you the truth. They say, I'm fine. But they're not. But good luck making them tell you the truth, right?
Absolutely. They tell you years later. And then you're
true.
like, why didn't you come to me?
That's true.
Yeah. So, one of the things that I feel like is a fine thing, and why I really wanted Beth to come, is that she's, you're really about helping people overcome obstacles and soar. In fact, you use that soar, don't you, in one of your websites or books, the idea of soaring.
I use the term shift a lot.
Shift and soar. Mm-hmm. I don't know where I saw soar. But yeah, so that is huge to me. And I guess I'm going to ask about this. We're live, but we have hashtag Me Too going on right now.
Oh, sure.
And the current state of affairs with women. I kind of am interested in knowing, how you see this playing out, and what you see the impact on the younger women will be.
So I haven't put the Me Too on Facebook. I'm staying away from it. I hate it.
Me too.
I hate it.
I do too, and I was just curious. It's an interesting dialogue to have. And I think the people that are sharing, though, it's amazing. But it's
amazing, and it's sad, and it's disappointing. But I will tell you something else that I wasn't planning on sharing here today. So just the other day, I was talking to Paul about this mess that we have in leadership. I'm a very I'm a leadership teacher. I have the Leadership Academy for Women. I have a book on leadership. I have a column on leadership. I have a website, TV channel on leadership. So here's what happens in leadership. It doesn't matter whether it's a country or an elementary school or a company. The person who's in charge, the leader, their beliefs trickle down. And this is what we have happening right now. And so, it's been 1 year since we've had the presidential election. So I'm not sure how you felt 1 year ago. I was very surprised at who was elected president because, for me as a woman, it wasn't so much of the policies, it was the bully. It was the sexual assaulter. It was the person who doesn't respect women. That hurt me deeply. And when I would see a woman driving in her car with a Trump sticker on, or walking around as I saw yesterday in Sears with a t-shirt on, I would think, you hate me.
That's
I would
how
look
you
at
took
her
it.
and I would say, you must hate me because I'm a single mom with 2 children and I need health care. I have a business and I need support, and you like a man who sexually assaults women. But then, it took me a while. But I saw this woman in Sears yesterday, or 2 days ago. I was getting my car inspected, so I was there for a very long time. And I kept seeing her, and it was so important. Because as I kept seeing her, and I would see the Trump t-shirt, and I would just be like, and again, it's not about policy, it's about Me Too.
Yes.
It's about the Me Too.
Yes, it is.
It isn't about the policy.
I get where you're coming
it's about the Me Too. And so I would see that and I would think, how as a woman can you do this? And I was still thinking, you hate me. But as I kept seeing her and I started not looking at the t-shirt, I started looking at her face and her smile and her purse and her kids. And I thought, if she didn't have the t-shirt on, I would probably talk to her.
Yes.
And this is what it is about. It's about starting to think. And so then I said to myself, maybe she doesn't hate me. In fact, I'm sure she wouldn't hate me if she knew me. That was a huge breakthrough for me. But here's what I think is different about me and the women who support someone like that, who follow someone like that, is that they're more comfortable with a man in charge. Maybe she's been married to a man for 35 years who's treated her badly. So maybe she's comfortable with that. I'm trying to rationalize it, the woman thing, the woman supporting that. And maybe also this Me Too thing is the best thing that ever happened. Because this stuff has been going on, not for decades, for since the beginning of time, where the weak are preyed upon, where people are hurt. And I was in Johnstown yesterday and they were talking about the gladiators, where it was a very violent time, right? So we're evolving as a country. And so I can't believe I'm going to say this live, but you know what? You opened this.
Uh-oh.
I said,
Mike, can we edit this?
I said, you know what? I said, I think that this presidency is like a huge, disgusting pimple on America. And what's happening is all the pus is coming out. But that's a good thing. That's a good thing because you know what? It's about time somebody started paying attention to this. So maybe this, where some women have thought, how could this happen? Maybe this was a really great thing to happen.
Right.
Because now we're discussing these very important topics.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Me Too, many, many times. It was the time we grew up in.
It was.
And it was the time where we didn't say things because we didn't want to upset our parents, or we didn't want to upset a man, or we were afraid. So many things. And again, like anything bad that happens to you, it's always the surprise. You're not expecting someone to grab you or shove you or grope you. So when you're surprised, you don't react. And I've never wanted to go around in my life expecting somebody to grope me.
Right.
So I'm still surprised when it happens.
Yes.
So, it is. I'm glad we're talking about it, though.
Yeah.
I think you just got to get all the pus out.
Well, here's my, it's funny, if you don't mind, I'll share.
Look, we can go anywhere now.
Yeah, we can go anywhere. I really feel like all of this is happening because, did you watch the 60 Minutes with Oprah where she brought everybody to the table?
Goodness. I was glued to the television for that.
To me, I feel like things happen because I'm a big believer that anybody can change and learn and grow. And I think, there's so many decent people out there that, maybe didn't know or weren't educated or didn't know how to treat a woman in business or even in just everyday life. They were modeling history and modeling
what they grew up with.
Yes, and so now...
Or what they've seen on TV.
Right, and so now we have... we have this opportunity to get to know each other and to say why something is important to you and why it may not be, and meet in the middle. And like you said, like I see that woman with Trump on as maybe there's something in his about what he has said that resonated with her.
Sure.
So deeply that it was more important than the rest of it. Where, and so that's kind of what I think this Me Too is doing. I think it's letting us talk about people. We all have a story. We've all done things we're not 100% proud of, and I think my belief is there's a black and white line now. I think that I've read stories on Facebook that I believe were like crimes, like criminal actions. I think there's a difference between that Me Too story it's just unacceptable. We shouldn't even be talking about it. We shouldn't be in a society where...
And hopefully our daughters will be in a society where this is over. Right.
The other side of the Me Too is like me, where people said things to me that were inappropriate or whatever, and I was raised in that era where you just kind of laughed about it and you didn't let it offend you. And so I think that's more about women taking back power and being able to say, hey, you kind of offended me there. Let's talk about why you said that.
You're so nice. I would say that's offensive. You're like, you're kind of offending me. You're very polite.
It probably is how I would deal with it. So,
but we're teaching, we're modeling, and we're teaching the women younger than us. And hopefully they will be thinking just like we are. That's ridiculous. We're thinking about what our grandmothers did. What, my grandmother couldn't vote? That's ridiculous. How could you live like that?
Yeah.
It's progress. It's progress. And to go back to your point, because I know a lot of people will be commenting on this, for me, this Me Too has helped me grow by realizing that I haven't paid attention to Donald Trump's politics.
Yes.
I've paid attention to the part that offends me.
Yes.
And so that's been eye-opening for me, and awareness of me of how deeply, we were talking about how deeply childhood pains go.
Yes.
And how deeply these experiences affect us. And so many of us women and men have been so deeply affected that we're just offended. I think, oh, well, you obviously hate me, which is not really reasonable.
Right.
It's not really reasonable. It's
not.
It's very emotional. And so this presidency has allowed me to grow. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting?
And the whole world, I think. The whole world.
I think so. We're all becoming aware. We're all growing. And that's progress.
It is. For those of you who are just joining us, I keep forgetting we're live. We're here with Beth Caldwell, and Beth is from Pittsburgh. She is a professional speaker, motivator, mentor for women and business people, and so that's who's sitting here with me, and we're super excited that you're joining.
But yeah, we're going.
Yeah, we're discussing some pretty interesting topics. So we welcome your opinions as well. We actually love the conversation. It's good to know everybody's side to the story. So please comment and share, and hopefully don't be offended if one of us has an opinion.
It's all about growth. Yes,
it is. So we're going to keep talking about these trends that we see that are impacting. And why are we talking about on FineThings? Because talking about it's a fine thing. These things are impacting business, and I don't care if you're a man or a woman, they are. One of the trends that I think is so fascinating and I'm so excited about is there's this trend to add spiritual discussions and topics into business. So I've had more people talk to me about, the energy and the vibration of their business and how that's impacting their marketing, and what are they giving off that can impact their marketing. And you see companies bringing in meditation and all that kind of thing. Are you seeing the shift? I know you talk about in your book, like just being still and mindful and meditating.
It's been powerful for me. And I think that people who are way more further along their leadership path than I am have embraced mindfulness. And I've stopped calling it mindfulness because not everybody understands what that means. So when I'm talking to women audiences, I say single tasking, thinking about only one thing. It's almost difficult to get a woman, because you're thinking about 12 things right now.
Absolutely.
Right? And our video technician here is a man. He's only thinking of the videotape. He's not thinking of anything else. Like we're thinking about, is my hair, my teeth, my top? Like, yes, what's the next question? What's my answer? But the man, think about one thing. And mindfulness is actually getting your mind to go to nothing. But that's an extreme place to take a woman.
Yes.
From 14, 15, 18 things that are all going around all the time into settling that down. So I introduce women to it by talking to them about single tasking, doing only one thing at a time. That can be very uncomfortable for a woman for most women who are very, very accustomed to doing many things at one time. And I say multitasking, and multitasking is a superpower, it really is. But we only need to use our superpowers when our lives are in danger.
Yeah.
Right? You don't need to be multitasking.
Not every single day,
moment,
all the time.
So that's it. But some of the best companies, the most successful companies in the world, have been implementing mindfulness, meditation, yoga classes, and emotional intelligence. And these are the companies that are doing really, really well, the Apples. Yes. And I'm trying to think of who else. I know Kellogg does it, and I know Apple does it, and I'm just not thinking of the other companies.
Google. There's a lot that I've read articles on.
Sure.
That do,
and they actually bring meditation into the workplace, and they find that is much more successful than the old model, which was do more, do more, do more, do more. Now we're talking about meditate, take your time. You actually get more done when you have less in your head, and you do it better. You do it better.
Well, I was talking to a potential client a couple weeks ago, and she said about laying down at night in bed, and there's 15 things running through her head, and what's hilarious is that she'll get up the next morning and none of them are even important. In the light of day, in the light of day, it's like, not that they're not important, but they weren't to the extent that she should have been.
In the dark, it's always worse, yes.
In the dark, it's always worse, and it's getting that out of your brain. Getting it, like I write it down, let it go, and focus, like you said, on one thing.
Or distract yourself. And that's something that, too, for your clients and for all women, if you've ever watched a man fall asleep, whether it's your dad or your brother, your boyfriend, your husband, your son, it's so interesting when a man goes to bed, he lays his head down and closes his eyes and goes to sleep. Like that. Have you ever been just amazed? Like, how do you do that? It's because what they're thinking when they put their head back is sleep. And what women are thinking about, all the things I forgot to do, all the things I didn't do, all the things I need to do. So if you can think sleep, 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 that's a really big title, a really big call for a woman.
Yeah.
To just think of one thing. So I try to distract myself. Playing a tape of music. I can't think when I'm trying to listen to the music, or I will catch myself then thinking, and I'll say, no, you have to think about the music, and then you're out. Yes. Another tip, if you have trouble sleeping at night, really works well, is the golf channel. But you right to sleep.
That would work for me.
It's just very hypnotic the way they speak about golf, isn't it?
We have this conversation in our house all the time because it's constantly on. I have 3 sons and a husband, and they are all golfers. So
you won't find that tip in my book. That's a good one.
I'm like, why are we watching this? So funny.
Me, if the golf channel comes on, I just go. I have 2 speeds, super fast and sound asleep. So if the golf channel comes on, I'm just napping.
Exactly. So, this I think is important for Yazzo's followers. Obviously FineThings is brought to you by the Yazzo Group, and we're a marketing business, but you're also a branding expert. And I kind of would like to hear if we have somebody listening that's trying to launch a business, like what are the 3 things that you would tell them off the top of your head?
Oh, okay, great. Let's see. So somebody launching a business, hire Angie. She's great. I didn't know when we were going to talk about this.
I didn't pay her.
I think it's here's what I tell my clients. I tell my clients, have an excellent photo. You don't need to have a 10 or 15 page website. You don't need to have a glamour brand. I work with people probably like you do. I work with chiropractors, and I work with yoga instructors, and I work with a naturopath. And you don't need to have a glamour shot. I don't need to see a photo of you, jumping on the beach with your legs up in the air with hair extensions and lash extensions.
Right.
That's a big trend now. Have you noticed that?
Yes.
That's not. I'd rather have a picture of you sitting at a table working with a client.
Yeah.
That's what I would rather have. So you don't need to have a glamour brand. That is such a trend now, which I think is not authentic. I think it's not authentic.
Yeah.
So you also don't need to have, I'll tell you the 3 things not to do. Is that okay if I switch it?
I think that's great.
You don't need to have a massive, complicated website. A good business card online website, about you, and about the solutions that you provide. Notice I don't say services, I say solutions, because people Google their problems.
That's a great
They
tip.
don't Google their solutions, right? So showing the solutions you provide. I think a big mistake that people make is they go onto a website, they make it way too complicated, they market to themselves, and they talk about their certifications and their experience. And that doesn't mean a lot to a person who doesn't know it. If they knew all that, they wouldn't need to hire you.
Yeah.
So I think that it's important that you have a webpage about you that's authentically about you and about the solutions you provide, and you talk about your clients' problems, the problems that you solve. That is, I think if you can do that, and then stop worrying about, so a brand is important, and your brand is your business and your personal image crossed over. So stop worrying so much about having things perfect, like having a perfect website, having a perfect everything, and worry about getting your first 10 clients. Get your first 10 clients and know what you do well.
Yes.
And then continually upgrade as your business grows. I see too many people spending 10, 20, 30 more $1,000 on a brand.
Oh, we've talked about
and
this.
they have no clients, and that's a mistake.
Yeah, we've talked about that. And you can always grow. I mean, you can start with
You
your...
need to always grow.
Like, I think people get too tied to, I'm going to put this website up, and it's the done deal. No,
They think they're going to put the website up and the phone's going to ring off the hook, right?
Yeah, and
yes.
like it's always fluid. You're always evolving and changing and becoming, and that's the great thing about a website these days. As you can update and change.
So much more simply than back in the old day when we started, right?
And so
you know what? I'll shift that a little bit too. It's the same thing for authors. I see this in you mentioned that I have written 7 books.
Yes.
The difference between me and a lot of other women entrepreneurs is that I finish books. And what women who I work with tend to do is they tend to start books.
I've done.
This book is so much better than the first book. We went back and read my first book to get some quotes out of it. I was like, really? I had no confidence back then. But people really enjoyed that book. And my books keep getting better every time.
Yeah.
As your website will, as your services will.
Absolutely. Yeah. Don't get paralyzed by having it perfect the first time, but you have to put yourself out there. Absolutely put yourself out there. Those were great tips. So that if you're just tuning in, we're Facebook Live here with Beth Caldwell, who is a motivational speaker, a professional woman who mentors other women. She's an author, and she's also a branding expert. So we're glad she's joining us today. So keep watching, please. So one of the things that intrigued me is you talk about your sons in the book. It's Brian and Kevin.
Brian
correct?
and Kevin.
And so that's huge
Hi, Brian.
to me.
Brian's probably watching now. Hi.
Hi, Brian. So that's huge to me because I'm a mother of 3 sons, and my oldest, Eli, who's probably watching. Hi, Eli.
Hi, Eli.
Is my business partner. He's my business partner. He's in LA. So I think, like, how do you feel your choices as a woman, as a professional, have impacted them?
We're letting it all out today, aren't we? So I was divorced when my children were very, very young. In fact, Brian was 1. Kevin was just a few weeks old when I separated from my husband, and that was not in my plans. I never planned. Nobody goes down the aisle thinking they're going to get a divorce.
Exactly.
That was not what I hoped for and not what I expected, and it was really disappointing to me. And it was a very, very difficult time. And if there were one thing I could change about my life, there's not much, but this one thing I would change, and that was that for the next 20 years, I wished I could do better for my kids. I wished we had a better house. I wish we could go back to the cul-de-sac. I wish they could be on the sports team that their friends were on, the ones that cost $1,000 to join, and they travel all over because both my kids were great in sports. And we never went to Disney World. We still haven't gone to Disney World. When I was pregnant with them, I was planning the trips to Disney World, and we haven't been yet.
We need to all go because my youngest has never been, and my middle son was a baby when he went. So
all my friends were going to the beach houses, and to Disney, and we would go. I would create these vacations of 7 days in the summertime where we would go to a different park in the city every day. That was our vacations. And I have to tell you something, there's some great memories there. I just wish I hadn't been at that park saying, I'm so sorry I can't take you to Disney World. Exactly. They were so happy to have me there at that park. And I remember one year We went to 5 different pools in a week, which can be almost as expensive as going to Disney World. But anyway, I digress. So what was your question?
How do you feel your career and your as a professional woman has impacted them?
So then, if we fast forward to both of them, Brian's out of college, Kevin is in college.
Yes.
And then we got to the time that I took Brian to college. Still thinking, look at all these moms who are stay-at-home moms that are coming here. And the day we took Brian to college, I taught a workshop called Yes You Can Write a Book.
Wow.
Because when I scheduled the workshop back in January, I had no idea I was going to be driving to college that August 18th that year. So fortunately, check-in at college was 1 p.m. and my workshop was 9 to 11.
Oh.
So, I said to Brian, have your stuff in the driveway. I'm going to pull around. I'm going to stop, and we're going to load it in, and we're going to head off, right? That was the way we did it. So I'm beating myself for that the whole way. And we get there, and I'm beating myself up because of all these moms who the dad works and the mom stays home. And I'm sitting there criticizing myself. But then Brian came home that Columbus Day, a month later, and I realized that I did the best thing I could do for my son by teaching him to do laundry when he was 11 years old and showing him how to, take care of the house and be independent, because many of those children didn't come back to college.
Yeah.
They stayed at home because they weren't ready. And one of the things that Brian has said and Kevin has said is that they just, because of me being single and taking them with me everywhere, they were exposed to a lot more. They got to meet more interesting people that their peers didn't get to meet. Brian is become an entrepreneur because he worked with me. He always went with me.
Yes.
He knows how to set up a room. He knows where to put a camera. He knows how to do that. So my children learned valuable skills from it. And my only wish is that I hadn't beat myself up all that time.
Yep.
And I wish I had recognized that instead of saying, I can't believe my kids have to do their own laundry, that's actually a good thing.
Yeah, it is.
So I think that my choices empowered my sons to be more responsible adults. So that's one thing I'm grateful for.
Well, you hit on, I think, an important topic, which is beating ourselves up. And I have, this wide circle of friends. Some are stay-at-home moms, and some are career women. Love them all. But I found out that the stay-at-home mom beats herself up just as much as the career woman.
You're so right.
And I wasn't out showing them how powerful a woman can be. I think the most powerful thing is being in the moment with anyone, not just our kids. That's where, like my sisters and I have had this conversation. We can't even remember certain years of our kids' lives because we weren't in the moment with them, enjoying it. We were distracted.
That's why we have grandkids, though.
Yeah.
So they're
starting to experience that. I'm starting to be jealous.
So that's really interesting that you say that too, because it is. You just made me think of something that my mother told me years ago. And she said to me, how do you know, maybe when you're sitting next to that woman who stays at home with her kid, that she isn't looking at you going, geez, I wish I had a career?
Absolutely.
And we never think that. That's so interesting. Thank you for reminding me of that.
Well, I think it's
My mom's really wise.
Absolutely. Your mother's very wise. I think, we're in this theme. We talked about it earlier about finding common ground and stopping the blame and stop looking at other people as what they aren't, and looking at people as people and what do we all have in common. And that is where I think we are as a world right now, especially in the U.S., and I think it's an amazing time to be alive. I think we're seeing, you use the word shift a lot, I think we're seeing a shift that is going to be incredible for our children.
And I think it's awareness. We are all becoming more aware, and even we're lifting the awareness in this conversation.
And we're making each other aware of things that we didn't even know you know what I mean? You've made me aware of a couple things in the conversation. So from frantic to focused, it's your 7th book.
It is.
I love books, so I like the actual book. I like the hard feel and or the soft feel of the book. Having it in my hand, I think books and reading are a fine thing. I've had books I've just done little monologues on books. So I always ask our guests, what are you reading? What can you share with the audience that has impacted you that you feel like is a fine thing?
So I also love books. I love books, and I love hard books in your hand more than digital books.
Absolutely.
In fact, if I get a digital book, I print it because I like to have it, and I keep them. And I will print out the ebooks that I get or purchase, and I keep them in a tote bag for when I'm traveling or sitting in a. I like to have the paper. However, I don't know about you, but I have a lot of books around that I haven't read because I do. There's so much going on. So one thing that I love about my iPhone is I have Audible on my iPhone, and it tunes into my car. And so I've been listening to some great books on tape. So first of all, two books that I read a long time ago that I still have and will never get rid of. One is called The 1 Minute Millionaire. Have you ever read that one?
No, but I've read The Millionaire Next Door. Sounds like it might be similar.
The 1 Minute Millionaire, and then I still have that one. In fact, I have a couple of copies of that. Oh, another one that I like, that I have several copies of because I give it as gifts. Let me see if I can think of the name. 365 Thank Yous. Have you ever read that book?
But that
I will get you that book. That's a great book.
That sounds
I have
really
several
good.
of them because I give them as gifts. And then Coach Yourself to Success is a book by a coach back before coaching was cool. And I can't her name is Tulane. I can't remember her last name. But that one's in my office, and I will still grab that book a few times. So, But right now what I'm listening to, actually for the second time, is there's a book by Lisa Gibbons.
Okay.
It came out about a year ago,
this.
and it's called Fierce Optimism.
I love the title.
She's an optimistic woman, and you think of Lisa Gibbons as being on ET, and just like all of us, we look at people and we don't think about the background story. There's a very interesting background story, and how she shares very openly about her mistakes that she's made, which really made me feel hopeful and optimistic, and so I'm listening to that one for the second time. And another one that I just finished is a great book that I recommend. It's called She Means Business by Carrie Green. That's a big, thick book, and I listened to that on audio, and then I liked it so much I bought it so I could have it. So I love to read.
Love those. This is a question just kind of coming to mind right now. I'm often asked when we're talking about women things, can men benefit from them? Do you think men could benefit from those books as well?
Well, I'll tell you, the book, yes, always. It's nice for women like us, and we've talked, so we know. We have emotionally intelligent and confident men in our lives, and we're very blessed to have that.
Yes.
And that helps us to shine and be who we are. And so I think the men in my life have benefited. My sons, my goodness, they were listening to books on tape that were mine when they were in their car seats. So they had to. They were getting fed that.
I should have done that.
But I did. I'll tell you, the book, the 365 Thank You books, is by John Kralik. And we actually read that book aloud as a family.
That's awesome.
And it's such a tremendous story, and it begins on New Year's Day. So holiday time is a great time to start reading that book, and it's a great family project book. And I know it sounds a little corny to read aloud, but it's a great family activity to do, and it starts great conversations.
Maybe we'll do that at the Thanksgiving table. We'll start reading it. That would be...
You'll get
make every guest read part of it. My kids are like,
it's actually a pretty old book. I think it's like 10 years old, and it's one of my favorites.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing those. Very cool. So obviously I've said many times, and for those of you who are just joining, we're getting near the end here today with Beth Caldwell. Beth is a motivational speaker. She is an author. She's a mentor. She's a brand strategist, I'll say, and we're excited to have her. Obviously, I have her here because I think she's a fine thing. And I've been to your workshop. We actually spoke together one time a couple years ago.
At a conference.
At a conference.
That's how we met the first time, right?
Yes, absolutely. And didn't really get to know each other, but then, we're reintroduced through a mutual client, and here we are. So I want our audience to know about the things that you do that they could engage with you. So what are the fine things that you are currently growing in your business?
Okay.
And how can people work with you? And then we'll kind of have you throw in like when your next events are. And
sure,
like that.
Sure. So Pittsburgh Biz TV shows, I have a channel on there called Smart Leadership. So that is how you can get my tips anytime, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, pittsburghbiztvshows.com. And that's where I give my 3 to 4 minute leadership strategies mainly for women, but they're great for everyone. And my newest episode just came out today. I just finished a little series on working with introverts and extroverts.
Ooh, good one.
And those are some lessons, by the way, that I didn't take a college class on. They're hard-learned lessons in my life that I share in that. And I'm touring on this book, the From Frantic to Focus. This came out in July of this year. But my new book, you have gotten to see. This one isn't out yet. And as you go into my, if you look in my car right now, that was just, it was tilted. You'll see this book with a whole bunch of papers because this is in edits now.
Yes.
So we're in edits, and this will be a new workbook. And this is about shifting, women being able to shift out of what we were talking about before, out of this whole, we love Facebook and we love Instagram, but there's a little bit of a lack of authenticity, not from clients that we work with, but our competition. And how do you stand out from people who are really great at sales, but they're not necessarily great at the deliverables? And that's what Shift is about. So I do, this is for businesswomen, this is for any women, and I have some retreats coming up. I have a shift retreat that you'll be hearing about where we can do the shift work over a weekend. And, you know, it's driving to Altoona from Pittsburgh. I get to look at some bed and breakfast and some inns and some hotels and places that we can do some getaways where we can get away from all of our distractions and work on our goals and our strategies and all the projects that we've started and not finished.
Yes.
I love doing that.
Yes.
And my next event, my next event is actually tomorrow, for those of you who are watching live. We'll be at McGee Women's Hospital in Pittsburgh doing a publicity summit, teaching business owners, nonprofits, and entrepreneurs how to attract publicity for their business.
That's fantastic. That's so needed.
And then further along, my friend Lindsay Smith and I, we teach retreats to women on how to write a book. So we have a retreat coming up in the spring. Yes, you can write a book, and that's just one of my favorite things to do. Is I like to help women finish their books.
Yes. It's funny because the shift kind of reminds me of one of the things that I'm focusing on with clients, and that is back to that, you know, how do you be authentic? How does your business create an experience? So doing a lot of talking on experiential strategy. And when I was in your workshop, it really reminded me of some of the things when I read through after the parts, you know, because you get to take this home and you're reading it, it really kind of brought to mind some things for me. I think that, you know, Beth pointed this out, we're on Facebook or we're on social media, we create this image of who we are, but then when someone interacts with you, it really comes down to, and I don't care what you're selling, I don't care if the experience is your website, I don't care if you work like one-on-one with people. People are hungry for an experience.
Oh, that's so true.
And your differential is how you create that experience.
Even your voice message and your email signature line can be a part of your experience.
Yes.
And being a fine thing.
Yes.
Having that a little bit of excellence. Excellence isn't something, I don't think that you're born with excellence. I think it's something you strive for. And it's that extra touch, it's that fine thing.
Absolutely. It is. So we are going to share, we're going to be sharing Beth's websites and Facebook page and all of that good stuff, but is there a specific way you prefer people get in contact with you?
So, well, I am on Facebook, I will say that. Facebook is the easiest way to get to me, and I love, all of my contact information is on the Pittsburgh Biz TV show website. So that's the best place to find me, or send me a message, or come and see me in person at one of the workshops. Would love to have that.
That's fantastic. I just really want to thank you for being with us because this was fantastic. And if you're just joining us and we're at the end of our first live, Facebook Live FineThings vlog episode, this is Beth Caldwell, and she's a author, professional speaker, mentor, motivator from Pittsburgh. We will continue to share this episode out. So you'll be able to, if you're just joining us, you'll be able to watch the recorded version as well. And I'm especially thankful that it was you here when I took it live for the first time.
This is fun. This is fun. And I'll have to give you a plug because there's a lot of other Fine Thing vlogs on your website so they can watch them all.
Absolutely. I would love if you would watch them. We had some great guests in the past and they all offer phenomenal services. So, well, I do, as always, want to kind of leave you with something to look forward to. We have some vlogs lined up for the rest of the quarter, and we're going to be doing, I'm going to be doing a discussion with a couple friends of mine on the people process. which is actually just a way to enhance your teamwork. It's a people assessment, but I love it because everything is going digital, and this is something you can hold in your hands. It helps you identify the people you work with and we talked a lot today about the common ground.
Mm-hmm.
Find the common ground that makes your team really effective. So Yazos, we really needed to enhance our leadership development and workshops that we provide. And so this is one of the tools that we're going to be working on. I'm going to do a vlog on it. And then, so the quarter is about strategy and entertainment. And as we get into the holidays, I want to talk about some fun things too, so fine things. And one of the things we're going to be doing is having a live party on our vlog where the guests are going to bring in 3 unique ways to create a party for the holidays.
Ooh,
and they're going to use local businesses and services and goods.
I love that.
So it's either, and I say local, it's Pennsylvania, but if there's somebody watching and they think they want to be included in the party, I don't care where you're at. As long as your stuff's a fine thing and,
And it's not from a big box store, right?
Yes, we're looking small business entrepreneurs.
Great.
That's what we're all about. So thanks again for joining us. FineThings is all about enriching your life, things that enrich your life, and you going out and enriching other people's lives. So I hope you enjoy the episode. Make it a great day.